Everything Donald Trump does is political theater, but unfortunately for him, he doesn't know his lines, his makeup looks like shit, and all the cues are off. And it's not just Donald Trump, everyone around him is failing to deliver as well. And the clearest example of this just played out on Donald Trump's state visit to the UK, where Melania Trump immediately ruined his vacation with a huge abandonment of her husband that is so public it is leading to a freakout. We are going to get into it all and how Donald Trump is once again humiliated. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we can get into how Melania is humiliating Donald Trump with her latest move to turn on her husband, if you can even call it that, I want to start with a different scandal within this family that shows exactly what they're about, and that's above all else the grift.
So this is the most corrupt White House in the history of the universe. Sometimes you see the corruption in reverse. Sometimes you see it in real time. Sometimes you see the corruption before it happens. And let me explain to you a corruption story that is in process. So you know the Department of Defense is going to be making tons of drones and buying a lot of drones in the coming decade. We've seen how lethal and effective they are in warfare in Ukraine. And so it won't shock you to find out that the Trump family has decided to get into the business of building drones. Specifically, Donald Trump Jr. just went on the advisory board of a very small drone company called Unusual Machines based out of Florida. And as soon as he went on the board, guess what happened? The stock price of this company doubled, like overnight. Because, you know, in this environment, in this White House, everybody knows when the fix is about to be in. And so as the Department of Defense starts to ramp up the amount of money that it's going to be spending on drones, don't be shocked or surprised when a very small drone manufacturer out of Florida called Unusual Machines starts to win bids. This is what's going on in this administration. They are just scooping up federal resources and federal contracts and delivering them to their friends, to their political allies, and often just to their family members. Sometimes you don't learn about it until after it's happened, but sometimes you see it coming. And I'm just telling you, we all see this one coming. Unusual Machines, a small company out of Florida, I think is pretty soon going to be in the big business of federal drone contracts.
There is a lot that just crushes my soul during this administration that I see every day, but the idea of Donald Trump's idiot children making any money whatsoever and pretending as if it is somehow because of their business acumen might make my blood boil more than anything else. The idea of Don Jr. Being happy in any way absolutely infuriates me, and I'm sure you feel the same way, but this is what the family does. They are grifters at heart. And unfortunately, they've been incredibly successful in doing so, not just because of the business ventures of Don Jr. and Eric, or because Trump's playing the market with his tariffs, but also because of how Melania has participated in Donald Trump's crypto scam.
Hold on, let me get him on the phone.
Josh?
Tell him I loved his op-ed. And Greg mentioned a staggering level of corruption. And I just got a note that the staggering level of corruption from last night's meme coin dinner.
That's what you're focusing on, the meme coin.
No, 40% of Donald Trump's wealth has been accumulated since he became president because of 2 crypto coins. The New York Times did interviews with foreign buyers of this cryptocurrency who came over here to have dinner with him. A guy from South Korea.
This is not even part of the segment.
So what?
You're talking about a meme coin.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about who's corrupt and who is profiting off the American office.
Did he try to cover that up? I don't think so.
Yeah, Caroline Levitt said
you're defending an administration that covered up a dying leader, and you're sitting here going, but meme coin, meme coin.
I'm saying billions.
All right, let's give Paul a chance to clean it up real quick. Paul, final thoughts.
It is clean on my side of the street.
All right, all I'm going to say is that
it is very clear that all of these people are just looking to extract as much out of the presidency in the short time that they can. That's it. That is what this family is after, and it's why Melania Trump has likely stuck around. We know she's never in Washington, rarely at events, and when she is, it's to be Donald Trump's essentially helper. Like, he can't hear, he can barely walk. She's giving him instructions, but she won't hold his hand. This is clearly a contractual arrangement at this point, and that was made abundantly clear when this leak went public about the nature of their sleeping arrangement at the state visit to the UK. Palace sources reveal Trump and Melania's unconventional sleeping arrangements on state visit. Donald Trump and First Lady Melania will sleep in separate suites at Windsor Castle, according to sources. Palace insiders have told the Daily Mail that the pair have opted for some privacy and will enjoy their own rooms, as well as sheets shipped in from the US during the UK state visit this week. Thankfully, Windsor Castle boasts more than 1,000 rooms, including state apartments, private chambers, chapels, and offices. Below Stare Wags, noting that Melania has a separate suite, joked that if she'd ask for a water bed, she could effortlessly drift apart from Donald. Alastair Bruce, a commentator for Sky News who specializes in royal matters, explained that principal guests at Windsor Castle enjoy a suite equipped with both a double and a single bed, meaning that the couple could have shared a room without Trump stirring Melania's sleep upon return from late-night engagements. The suggestion that the Trumps are effectively separated has lingered in the background of the administration for months. She lives mainly in New York as her husband rips up and redraws the White House in his image down in Washington, D.C. Journalist Michael Wolff has previously said that Donald and Melania are essentially separated. In May, he told the Daily Beast podcast that the pair lives separate lives. They clearly do not in any way inhabit a marriage as we define marriage, Wolff said, and I think maybe we can more specifically say they live separate lives. They are separated. The President of the United States and the First Lady are separated. The White House, however, has repeatedly labeled Wolff a lying sack of shit and a fraud. Officials decried what they called a blatant lie and fabrications from Wolff. This is honestly just hilarious that this is Donald Trump's life, that even the people closest to him despise him, and ultimately he will end up alone. The closest person to Donald Trump in the chain of command, J.D. Vance, does not give a single shit about him, and neither does the First Lady, or likely his kids. They just want to profit off of him in the same way that he has profited off of us. Donald Trump is grifting from the American public, but those closest to him are grifting off of him. There is no love, there is no admiration in this administration. It is full of backstabbers who are looking to get one over on each other. It's the reason Scott Bessem's getting into fistfights all the time. These people are awful, and I hope one day when they're alone, they realize why, and they have to reckon with that. It certainly won't make me feel good enough to ever move on from the damage that they have caused this country. But it certainly makes me a little happy to know that inside they are certainly miserable. If you ever look at Marco Rubio, there's nothing behind those eyes. It's just despair and hopefully regret with the decisions he has made in his life. And I really hope he has a nice, embarrassing failure to launch in 2028 with his presidential campaign, which will go fucking nowhere. But with all that said, I'm glad that I can, at least for this moment, say that. Because it looks like the Trump administration is moving to make sure I can't, going after independent journalists as much as they are the mainstream media, and doing so with a legal crackdown that makes no sense. And it was all broken down by Chris Hayes calling out Pam Bondi right here.
Even though researchers with no political axe to grind have, when they have looked into the question, consistently found that most American domestic extremist violence is statistically right-wing violence. The New York Times reports President Trump and his top advisors threatened on Monday to unleash the power of the federal government to punish what they allege was a left-wing network that funds and incites violence, seizing on Charlie Kirk's killing to make broad and unsubstantiated claims about their political opponents. That is the plan plain as day. In fact, they announced it on a special episode of The Charlie Kirk Show, hosted by Vice President J.D. Vance.
We are going to channel all of the anger that we have over the organized campaign that led to this assassination to uproot and dismantle these terrorist networks. So it is a vast domestic terror movement. And with God as my witness, we are going to use every resource we have at the Department of Justice, Homeland Security, and throughout this government to identify, disrupt, dismantle, and destroy these networks and make America safe again for the American people.
Terrorist networks, there is no left-wing terror movement. And certainly there's zero evidence whatsoever that any left-wing terror movement was involved in this murder. And in the complete absence of any evidence of any vast plots, Vance instead singled out an opinion column published by The Nation that criticized Kirk's cultural legacy while also condemning the violence that killed him. It was then the Vice President of the United States called for a war on the free press and its supporters in rhetoric that echoed anti-Semitic conspiracy theories.
And there is no unity with the people who fund these articles, who pay the salaries of these terrorist sympathizers. Did you know that the George Soros Open Society Foundation and the Ford Foundation, the groups who funded that disgusting article justifying Charlie's death, do you know they benefit from generous tax treatment? They are literally subsidized by you and me, the American taxpayer. And how do they reward us? By setting fire to the house built by the American family over 250 years.
Those words echo a lot of what Viktor Orban in Hungary has said as he has gone after George Soros and independent institutions of civil society. I mean, that's the Vice President of the United States grossly mischaracterizing an article he seemed not to read.
This is really one of the most terrifying actions we have seen from this administration, and that's saying a lot. It is so bad that you are seeing people like Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens. You're seeing Steve Bannon say that this has gone too far, that Pam Bondi has gone too far. And it's funny because it's not because they have some, sophisticated legal argument for why they're worried about government overreach, that there are National Guards, there's troops in our cities and these people don't give a shit. It's funny because why they're so worried about this new definition of hate speech and what it can mean for a legal crackdown by the federal government is because they want to continue to discriminate against gay people and black people. Any person of color, really, any minority group. That's what they're afraid of. They're not afraid of government overreach. They're afraid that a President AOC, right, a President Gavin Newsom could step in and say, oh, you want to discriminate against trans people? Well, we'll arrest you. They want to continue to be bigoted. They don't care about the Constitution, small government, all these ideas, a balanced budget that conservatives purported to care about for so long. It's all bullshit. Everything is how can I attack a marginalized group and try to uplift myself, and often for profit. That is what Charlie Kirk was about, by the way. So the same people who are freaking out over Pam Bondi's definition of hate speech, not because, again, they care about a constitutional argument, a legal argument, checks and balances on our government. No. Because they want to practice their bigotry. That is what Charlie Kirk cared about. No one is going to tell me that he was some free speech warrior. We're going to call out that bullshit. And if you want to support us doing that on this show, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And if you want a little bit of an uplifting watch, you can check out my interview with Governor Westmore. We had a lot of fun throwing the football around. I'd appreciate you taking a look because it was a great time. Keep on fighting. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.